Hi guys, welcome to Palace to the Core. My name's Stephen Dawes. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for supporting the channel. So, we've got our European game coming up again on Thursday at Crystal Palace, and it was an interesting interview, a pre-match interview this time round. Obviously, we've heard that Adam Wharton is now fit again after him having a slight illness, so he's back in the team. Chaddy Rehad is now back in the squad. He's been out for about a year and a half with his ACL, but he's made a return, which is fantastic. It's good to hear. That's almost like buying a new player, you know, having Chaddy Rehad back again. And even though he might not have set the world on fire when he did play for us, he didn't play very long. And I think that, you know, he was bought because he is a good player, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that he can stay fit and give us another dimension there, shall we say, because obviously if we are going to be losing Mark Gahey in the summer, then it might be that we need Chaddy Rehad as much as anybody else. But it's good to have those two back. Apart from that, though, there wasn't really a great deal talked about. It was, you know, there were people in there talking about the Europa League again, bringing that back up again, and you could see that Oliver Glasner was just thinking, look, this is old news, let's just get past this. They were asked, of course, about the fixture congestion, which I know has been a big issue, and the game with Arsenal was moved because of it. And he just said, look, I think that all of the different companies, all of the, you know, UEFA and FIFA and all of them should get together and talk about the fixtures and how to sort it out in a way that works for everybody. He said that's what I think they should do. He said, but it doesn't seem to be that way. It seems to be that, you know, one person will blame another association for what's going on rather than trying to work it out themselves. So, you know, you can see that he's you know, he's thought about it, but you know, at the end of the day, I think that he is pragmatic and says, well, we're in all of these competitions. It's good that we are in all these competitions, and you know, we're just going to do the best that we can. And he said we're just going to go out to win every game, because they were saying to him, you know, why, you know, we've seen other big clubs who've not played their strongest 11, or not played their first 11, should we say, because of other games coming up, and they said, you know, you haven't done that though. You tended to play your strongest side. And he said, well, you know, when you look at a team like Chelsea, you've got 40 odd players. They can afford to change a number of them because they've got a very good squad all the way through. He said, we've got 18 outfield players, so for us, changing a whole team is something which is not really very, very viable. He said, I did change a lot of players in the Liverpool game, he said, but all of those players were good players and players that deserve to be there. And I think he's right. I think, you know, you want to put out your best team. It may not be the first team, but I think he knows which players he can rely on, and I think that's the good thing about it, that he knows he can swap a few players around and still get the work rate and the result that he wants. And they talked about injuries and stuff like that, and he said, well, you know, Eddie Nketiah had an injury, and he doesn't play every game. And Maxence Lacroix was next to him. He said Maxence has played every game this season, every game last season, I think, nearly. And he hasn't had an injury. So he said sometimes not having a regular starting, not playing regularly, can actually cause injuries rather than playing every game, which I can kind of agree with that. I don't see why not. You know, especially when you've got players who are training but not necessarily match playing every week. I guess it could be a case of, you know, maybe things do happen in training or do happen in the game that because they're out of that rhythm. Anyway, that was pretty much it. We didn't really go into any other detail with anything else, which is just seems to be how these European interviews go. They tend to ask lots of questions they've already asked before, or pointless questions, to be fair. So I'm going to make my prediction as to how I think this game will go. I think it's going to be another tough game for us. I think it might be, although they're a slightly better team than Larnaca, I think we could potentially be in for another game where they're going to try and sit back and absorb pressure and stop us from playing, because it seems to be a tactic that's been done in the European games. And so I think that it's going to be a tough game for us, but I would hope that we've learnt from the Larnaca game and things like that, and that we can actually get some momentum, play forward a bit more, be a bit more adventurous, shall we say, going forward. And I think that we're going to get a result there. I think we're going to win. I'm not going to say a score line because I never get these things right, but I think that we will get a win there on Thursday. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. Do you think, firstly, do you think Charlie Rehad will be a good player to bring in? Do you think that he is going to be a good addition to the squad again? And also, what are your predictions on the game on Thursday? Let me know what you think down in the comment section. Please do subscribe if you've got this far, and I'll see you next time.